Hey, everybody, welcome to Filmmaker Friday. I am your host, Kristin Smedley, the producer of and creator of Curveball, the movie, coming into the world very, very, very soon. And I am learning so much about the process of filmmaking, of feature filmmaking, that I thought, hey, why jot all this down and then tell y'all about all the lessons learned later? Let's just have y'all learn while I'm learning. Now, it's been an extraordinary ride thus far. I mean, this sucker has been like, what, 15 years now in the making. I have lip gloss on, and I always say to my kids, I don't do mental math when I'm wearing lip gloss. So, anyway, it's like 15 years that we have been waiting to get this story into the world because it's such an incredible story. So, Filmmaker Friday is our weekly check-in, you and me together, weekly check-in to see what we're learning, where we're at, where the stumbling blocks are, the struggles, the celebrations, all the things to bring this feature film into the world. So like I said, my name is Kristin Smedley. I am producing Curveball, the film, based on my family's true story of having the first blind baseball player in Little League in our area. And we're still fact checking this, maybe ever. I don't know. Y'all, if you've had a blind baseball player on your regular Little League team, could you reach out to me? Because I would like to know who they are. So, in today's episode, I guess we're going to call this episode. This is the show, folks. You're on the journey here. In today's episode of Filmmaker Friday, I'm going to talk about a few things. One is I showed y'all last week the script. It's up there on the shelf behind me. For those that can't access this visually, I've got some shelves in my new office. We're not in the studio yet, but I'm in my new office. And the curveball scene clacker is up there over my shoulder. And the script is sitting on that shelf right next to that thing, all ready to go. We're going to talk about how I came to find the absolutely incredible screenwriter that put that together. We're also going to talk about funding, fundraising, how we're bringing this film into the world, and not only just how you can help, more so how you can harness the advantages that this film will bring to you, your business, and what your mission is in the world. And then finally, I'll be talking about what's coming up in the future episodes, the things that are happening that I'll be talking about. And look, it's Friday, people. It is Friday. It is Phillies weekend in my house. That's why I'm wearing my Phillies tank top, because we are headed to the game this weekend, and we got a lot going on. And I always say, all great things are written down on the back of an envelope or a napkin, and that's what I have for my notes to inform you all of what's happening on Filmmaker Friday this week. So first of all, okay, let's talk like serious for a second here about the script and finding a screenwriter to make this happen. Now, if you know me and follow me on social, then you know that I like to get y'all involved in every single thing I'm doing, right? So when I did my children's book a year and a half ago, that's on the shelf over there too. What I Can Be is up to me. Little plug for the children's book. I needed a visually impaired artist. That was my goal. I wanted a visually impaired artist to put that together for a lot of reasons that we can do a whole episode about inclusion and the story of blindness, which is the reason that Curveball is coming into the world, to change the story of blindness and disability in our world in a very big way. But when I went to do that children's book, I needed a visually impaired artist. I mean, I can comb through my network that is huge and one off that thing, right? And ask everybody, or then you can just do something really fun and have a contest, right? So we did a contest for that. Wildly successful. The amount of artists that reached out to us that are visually impaired and submitted, and then everybody was voting, and it was so exciting, and it became this marketing machine for the book. So I needed Ken and I are committed. It is one of our values with this was to have it be inclusive from soup to. Do people still say from soup to nuts? I'm going to be 53. I'm going to tell you, I still say it from beginning to end and all the layers in between. This is inclusive. So cast, crew, everybody involved, we want all abilities, right? So I said, hey, the contest was such a fun thing to do and got such great participation, and the marketing went far and wide for the book. Let's do it for the screenplay, for the script. And then it didn't go so well. I don't know. Maybe there's not a lot of folks out there, or maybe it's my network that I'm not in the arts and film industry yet. I don't know. We can analyze that later in an episode. Or like I envision like this really cool panel conversation at the film festivals talking about all these kinds of things. But for whatever reason that I have not fully analyzed and obsessed at 3:00 in the morning over yet, is the fact that contest, it didn't get us the screenwriter we were looking for. So what was the second tier? I don't do anything anymore with just one dart at the wall, right? I don't just throw one thing up there and hope and pray that it's going to work. I'm learning as I go. So I'm like, let me try multiple different things to see what's going to land us, what we need. So the second thing that I did was then I took a look at my network, right? Not like reaching out to every single person, but I started combing through LinkedIn to see, there's different ways you can do filters with LinkedIn. I can do a whole show. I can do a whole series on LinkedIn. It's amazing. So there's different filters and all. And I was looking at people that I know in the film and writing industry, right? First of all, but also in the blind and visually impaired community, and where were there overlaps and whatnot. So I reached out to some of my connections and had phenomenal conversations about this film and the things I had needed at the time. And one of the biggest ones was a screenwriter to get this script underway. So we knew we were going, because then you develop all these things from that. So through some connections, we got connected to somebody in the industry. Well, just looking to get started on this facet of the industry, but making a huge impact in other areas in the industry. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be terrific. This is what we were waiting for. And then, oh my goodness, did we have some incredible conversations, and getting our backstories are similar and our families have parallels. And then it turned out that while that person's talents are tremendous in some areas, we had to move those talents to other facets of bringing this film into the world. And the screenplay just wasn't going to be the thing. I got to tell you, I was sitting there like, okay, this is two major avenues that I thought were going to be so incredibly successful, and they weren't. The funny thing is, they've become incredible. They led us to other things that they will be incredibly successful, just not for the thing that I wanted it to be in the moment that I wanted it to happen. Oh yes, Kristin is still practicing patience. Yes. So anyway, so while that two layers now, two things I threw up there at the wall, put on my whiteboard as opportunities to find this phenomenal screenwriter, they didn't work out. But like I said, other avenues have opened. So back to landing the plane about the screenplay. So then the third thing that we looked at is people already involved in the industry in my project. The biggest one being Ken, my director and bestest buddy in the world to bring this thing to fruition, looked in his network and his experiences, because he is heavily entrenched in the film industry and has worked with absolutely unbelievable people, right? So, okay, so now he's on the whiteboard, right? All right, now Ken's looking at his network and introduced me to who will now forever be one of my most wonderful friends in the world, Rolf, who I'll have to bring on. I don't know if Rolf will do it, to come on to especially a show with me, that I'll have him talking about his whole life story and we'll know everything about him. But oh my gosh, he has written for so many major platforms. I'll have to talk with him and see if I can reveal everything about his career and his life. But I'll tell you what, this is when I knew, like, I've known all along this is going to be a great story and it's going to resonate and it's going to be what the world needs right now. But you ever have those moments where, like, well, my hair is always standing up on the top of my head these days, but like the hairs on the back of your head and the back of your neck, and your body just gets like, oh boy, you can feel it running through your veins that this is a connection that needed to happen, that was like divine intervention, and all the other things weren't working out for this. They were working out for other things, because this person, this human, was on his way to us, and we had to clear out the path for him to get here. Because I'll tell you what, he watched an interview that we had done, like just a behind the scenes conversation with a bunch of us around the table, of everything from what are we going to title this to where did this all begin, diagnosis day. Like, I had to relive all of that when Michael was diagnosed as blind. We filmed those conversations. Honestly, I had my marketing hat on, right? I was thinking, all right, we're going to use these conversations later, show the behind the scenes, I can't wait for you to find out how we came up with it and all of the discussion around it. But I wanted to have that to show folks later just how much into this, thinking about it, and like I said, behind the scenes and stuff like that, and some really awesome social media stuff to start marketing this film and getting the word out. But it turns out that Rolf, our screenwriter, was able to watch those, right? And then he had conversations with me on Zoom. And I have to tell you, those of you that have a talent like this, I oh my gosh, my heart just is like, it's jealous. I got to tell you, I'm a little bit jealous because I can't do this. He watched those couple of hours of conversations, and he had a conversation with me, and then he put my life, my journey, our journey, me and my kids and our community on paper in a way that it's my own life, right? I was there. I already know it. I was surprised. I was tears, like sad tears, and then laughing right through them in certain moments that he wrote in there. And he figured maybe I'm not as complicated as some people have said I am. Now, he's just that talented that he really put my journey first of all, our journey first of all, and my vision and dream for this. I don't know how he did this, but he was able to put that into this script. And I have to tell you, I will say it was incredible. If you have ever seen, like, if anyone's ever written stuff about you, and you see it on paper, like it was Ken, my director, is like, all right, Kristin, you got to go through this script and let's just go through like stuff that I wanted to have everything in chronological order. I'm a little bit of a type A Virgo. He's like, that's not how you tell the story. He's like, look for the stuff that is correct, and if there's anything that we don't want to tell in this story, and pull these stuff, like look for it, edit it that way. And I said, those early days of Michael's blindness diagnosis, I didn't want to revisit that. Isn't that a little bizarre? I mean, all these years later, I am almost 24 years away from diagnosis day. For those of you that are going through something right now, if you're in the middle of the challenge, it's hard enough, and then you get through it, right? I will caution you. I wish somebody would have told me this. Not necessarily caution, but just give you the heads up that if you revisit it later, sometimes it's still hard. I mean, look at me. Like I have been introduced so many times to the big stages when I speak as the happiest mom of two blind kids, right? And I guess to go back to me just praying it away every day and crying for 3 years, it was hard. And I was talking through that with my G and some of my girlfriends. And I'm like, I guess me now feels a little bit of shame, I guess, about how I started this journey and didn't just embrace it right away and go get my kid all the tools he needed to navigate this world. So I guess there's a little bit of shame there. I know that it isn't anymore I wish that, it wasn't supposed to be like this, right? All the things that should be. I know I've moved on because I made room for all the things that could be in my son's life and in my second blind son's life as well. And they've taken me on an extraordinary journey. So I guess maybe it's rooted in a little bit of shame of how I reacted and didn't get myself moving and help my son right away. Maybe that's where it was at. But boy, was that weird to have those little triggers again of being back to that moment of what I thought was the biggest challenge in my life. Little did I know that was just a training ground for some mega stuff that would just whop me in the heart later. But anyway, so it's really it's been so fun to see Rolf's talent to be able to bring our journey to paper and write it in a way that is just heartwarming and frustrating and entertaining and exciting and all the things. But boy, was it weird to to go back to those beginning days. And you'll see. And those of you that have been through stuff like this, you know that maybe you can give me some words of wisdom. And oh, by the way, my email is on the screen here, thrivingblind@gmail.com. I mean, you can put something in the chat in the comments of what platform you're watching this on, or you can send me a message if you have some thoughts on revisiting or being triggered, in these challenges. It's been a struggle for me to read the beginning of that script and get through it without having some emotions, but that's okay. We are all human, right? We're on this journey together. But I got to tell you this too. The beginning and this is how I moved through this whole not being able to read the beginning of it. Reading through that again and revisiting that again. And then looking at the end of the film and the script and seeing where my kids are now and seeing, what happened in the end, that why I wanted to put this film into the world is so it's beyond worth those initial days, weeks, months, and sadly 3 years of not being able to come to grips with that diagnosis and taking a few next right steps forward. So it was so worth it in the end. It continues to be worth that struggle to this day. So those were the 3 things that I keep saying put on my whiteboard, because my whiteboards are all over, that I put up on the whiteboard to get a screenplay developed and a final script in my hands. And I keep saying it's on my shelf, but literally I'm walking around with it all the time, highlighting things and adding notes of what I want to have in terms of songs and everything in it. But it was, we tried out there with a contest on social media. Like I said, it worked for the children's book. It did not produce the same thing for this. That's okay, because we had multiple options. We were driving in multiple lanes to make this thing happen. I went through my network for referrals, got a referral to somebody that, like I said, did not end up being the match for this, but is, oh my goodness, extraordinary in other lanes for a project like this, right? And then it was ultimately my director's network, right? So we got to reach out to 1 layer, 2 layer, 3 layers. It was my director's network and colleagues that he has worked with and have been extremely successful, that was the right fit for this project. I should say too, I'm a little bit of I'm like a mama bear with this project. Like, I am very picky about who's involved, because it's an incredibly special story to tell. I know it's my own story and my own family, but you'll see as all this unfolds. And for those of you that are seeing this, that are in my personal network and in my community that watch this unfold with me, you all know why I'm picky about who's getting involved with this. Okay. So that's how we found the screenwriter to come up with the screenplay, the script for this extremely special human. The second part that I promised that we were going to talk about is fundraising. I got to tell you, if you want to have some fun this weekend, you're a little bored here in Philly, it's supposed to rain on Sunday, so you got nothing better to do, Google how to fund a film. There are a bazillion YouTube channels. I've got Instagram channels that I'm following, and live things come up. I get messages all over the place. Everyone that is creating a film is trying to figure out how to fund the films, right? We don't all have that $1 million uncle. I don't know why. What's with my family? I don't have that uncle that's saying, Kristin, here's $1 million. Get that film into the world right now. So we got to be creative in terms of, I'm going to put another thing. I'm producing my own show here, and I'm learning all these things to get to, there it is on the bottom now. Curveball the movie, KristinSmedley.com/film. I am reading the ticker going across the bottom because, let me get some of these words off. I'm going to drive the people that can see this visually crazy, because that's where you'll see that you can go in if you want to just donate to bring this film into the world. I mean, that's what we need, is the funding, right? And we've got each step along the way I'm telling you, God has blessed this message from the very beginning. Each step along the way, when we needed to hire a screenwriter, we had to do this, we had to do that. The funding has come in. I mean, the funding has just come, right? So now we're looking to take that next big leap and really get this thing in motion so that we can say to Mila Kunis, who we are, I am attracting to this film. I am attracting her to this film. Go watch the first episode of this and you'll find out why. But when we are going to those folks and we can say, yes, this thing is happening because so many people are behind it. We have the funding is coming into play. So we need folks like you to just go to kristinsmedley.com/film and donate. And the faster you do that, and the more people that do that, even if it's $5, you will help us get the website developed for the film that is not just a website about the film. It is also going to be a landing spot for people in the disability community to come together to gain resources for coaches to understand how to make youth sports more inclusive. So all the things that this film is going to be a catalyst for are going to begin at that website. So the faster you get in there and donate to my website and our little tiny page on there, the faster we can get a real dynamic landing spot for all of this. But so that's like the one little easy thing to do that I would love for everybody watching this to go in there. And if you hit certain levels, we now have merch. We're going to talk about the merch for those of you that aren't cool like me. My kids told me you got to call it merch. It's not merchandise. I'm like, it's merchandise. They're like, no, it's merch. It's the cool hat and the t-shirt and the baseball jersey. And we're adding things each month to those donation levels. But anyway, so that's like an easier level of entry. Then there's these really cool things too. So we've got promoters. You'll see when you go to that, click on at my website and click on donate, you're going to come to the landing page of Go Share Fund. We will talk about Go Share Fund and why we chose that in a later episode, but just to be very brief, I've got connections in my network in the blind community. They're working to make everything accessible and not force accessibility, but show people the value of making things accessible. So do not leave out the blind community because these folks, they've got some money to spend too, right? And they've got some contributions to make in the world. So let's make things accessible. And the Share Fund has that as a value and a priority. Plus, not only is it accessible, you can also sign up as a promoter for the film. When you go there and see Curveball the movie on Share Fund, which you can get to from that link that's scrolling across the bottom, kristinsmedley.com/film. When you go there, you will see a button to either share or promote. You click on promoter and you will get your own personal link that when you share to all of your network and say, hey, donate to this film. It's important to me. I want to see it come into the world. When they donate, you get a portion of that. You get like a commission, right? Or as Michael called me this morning, and I forget that my kids' friends are connected to me on social media. So I'm very careful, like on Instagram and all that I'm not saying anything like ridiculous. It didn't dawn on me that they're connected to me on LinkedIn too. And if you are following me on LinkedIn, you saw that I put a thing out there this week about this whole promoter, and that you can make money right alongside this film and helping this film get into the world. It is such a win-win-win, especially for the blind community that is 70% unemployed. The general disability community is 82% unemployed. Here's an opportunity, right, to utilize skills and networks for them to make some money while we get this important message into the film. I just think it's brilliant and beautiful at the same time. Anyway, back to flying the plane that I started talking about. Michael called me this morning. He goes, his buddy sent into their big group text from Penn State. Hey, Mike's mom is starting a pyramid scheme for all of us to get involved in. Thank you, Austin. Thank you for that fun way to start my day. Michael and I were cracking up. It is not a pyramid scheme. It is just an opportunity for you all to promote the film, make some cash on your own for the missions that you have going on in the world while this mission moves forward. I think, like I said, brilliant and beautiful. So you can become a promoter. That's another way to fundraise and get this thing into the world. But here's the coolest one. And I apologize to all of you outside of the Philadelphia area because this does not pertain to you yet. I am going to find something creative for you. I promise. However, for everybody in the Philadelphia area, especially Bucks County, Philadelphia, Montgomery County, Chester County, and South Jersey and Delaware, for all of you in this area of my home and where this true story unfolded, you have an opportunity to be a sponsor and have your logo on the home run fence in all the scenes of the championship game of this film. I can't stop smiling. It's my friend Kristin Riley that came up with this idea. And I'm like, how brilliant is that? We don't have a ton of room left on that fence because we did do some in-person we did a big in-person event here in my town to kick off all the fundraising to be able to get the screenwriter and all that. And they got first dibs on logos on the championship game fence, but we do still have some spots available for folks in this town. You have to be from in this town. And like I said, all of you outside the town, because I know I've got supporters and people cheering for this all over the world, like literally all over the world. We are going to find some really cool things like that for you to be able to sponsor. So hang on tight. We'll be doing that. But those of you in this area, send me a message here. Let's put this back to my email and send me a message at thrivingblind@gmail.com if you want to become a sponsor on and see your logo on the home run fence in the film during the scenes of the championship game. Isn't that cool? Kristin Riley's like brilliant like that. That's why I like to hang out with all different kinds of folks because she's in a completely different industry than I am with mortgages and stuff. She starts talking about her work and I'm thinking to myself, what am I wearing for my workout tomorrow? I glaze over because that is a skill set that I just do not have. And she's brilliant at it and then brilliant at coming up with ideas for me. And let's face it, she's Kristin with an I-N. So of course she's brilliant. Okay. So those are the three ways that we are focusing on fundraising right now. But, like I said, this is a film that the world needs right now. I know that I am the creator and producer of it, and it is my life, right? It is my life with my kids that this story is about. But I am telling you, I witnessed it happen. I witnessed this story unfold, especially that baseball season. And when I tell you that I watched the impact that it had on our community and our kids in this community. And now they're all coming back, graduating college, about to graduate college. And they come back to my kitchen table, my barbecues, my goofy parties, my crazy reindeer games Christmas party. And they say to me, Kristin, do you know that the world doesn't see that blind people are pretty much elite over us sighted people? Do you know that they have no knowledge of the fact that a blind person could play sports? Like the world doesn't know what we know. Yes, I know. And that's why the world needs to know what we know. The world needs to know about the ability and disability. The world needs to know this journey that you can get up off your couch over the most devastating blow of your life and see what could be, as opposed to being so stuck in what should be. The world needs that message, and we need your help to fund it, bring it into the world. And look, I get it. I mean, oh my gosh, every time I go to the food store, I come home and tell my kids, I take everything out of the bag and tell them how much each thing was and why I only got one bag of Doritos because I don't have $957,000 to get 3 bags. And you better put a chip clip on those because if they go stale, I ain't buying any more until next month because they're too expensive. Look, I get it. I'm in the same boat of pinching every penny and selling stuff on Facebook if someone hasn't used it in 7 days, right? I got to replenish that bank account. So I get it that funds are challenging right now. So here's what I'm going to ask of you. If donating to this film or being a sponsor or being a promoter doesn't work for you right now, who can you connect us to? Maybe there is someone in your network that is in the Bucks County area that would love to have their logo on our fence in the championship scenes of the championship game. Connect me to them. That would be absolutely phenomenal. We can all take one step. There might be something that we can do as opposed to looking at the things that we can't. And I will be ever so grateful. Okay, so coming up, we're going to be in future episodes, we'll be talking about the soundtrack. For those of you that know me and my family, who we were referenced one time as as the drum house in the neighborhood, not the nice landscaped house, the drum house. Yes, we always had bands at the house, and we always had music going, and we are a very musical family. So of course, there's going to be music in this film, and I can't wait to let you all know and introduce you to who's the captain of the ship of the soundtrack. You won't believe it. I can't stop smiling. And again, it is divine intervention that this incredible soul, talented beyond talent, that him and his family came into our lives when they did years ago. So that's going to be very exciting. And I'm also going to be talking about the marketing ideas, plans, and the merch and stuff like that for this film, and then a few other things as I'm learning. I was making a list on the one whiteboard of, like, I had on one side, okay, the things that I want to be talking about that I'm working on for this process, and then on the other side, like, moving it over when I had that figured out, so I could tell you, hey, here's what I did and here's what I learned. And I'm not having all the success in the world fast enough. So you're just going to learn it while I'm learning it. And then I might even say to you, please send me a message to help me figure this out. And I'll tell you all my problems and all of my hurdles with this film. Maybe you can help us figure it out. Okay. Super fun. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to Filmmaker Friday with Kristin Smedley for Curveball the Movie. It's been a great time with y'all. Thanks so much. And I'll see you next Friday.